Hi, and welcome back to Bots and Beyond. As always, another fantastic guest lined up in the intelligent automation space for you lovely listeners this week. I'm joined by Alex Bentley over at XpertRule. Alex, hi.
Hi, Wayne. Great to be here.
We've known each other for a long while across a couple of different companies that are both in the intelligent automation space. So I guess for the audience, it would be great for you to do your intro, give us a little bit of your background. So who you are, what you do, and why you do it is our standard intro. And over to you, Alex.
I'm Alex Bentley. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at XpertRule. Let me tell you a little bit about XpertRule first, I think. So we are at our heart an AI company, and we sit very squarely in the intelligent automation space. But our area of focus is on decision automation, and not just decision automation. It's also decision augmentation and decision support. And so our kind of raison d'etre, if you like, is to make better decisions across the enterprise. We're a low-code platform, and we can capture knowledge from the knowledge worker, both from knowledge workers and also from data as well.
I mentioned that you'd worked for a couple of companies. Why don't you give us a bit more of your background, and then kind of how did you end up at XpertRule?
Yeah, sure. So I started my career for my sins in consulting, worked in the Big Four, so I was at Accenture and EY, but I would say my sort of career really sort of changed pace in 2013 when I joined Blue Prism, which was then in the early days. It wasn't that well known. They just started, I think, to become a little bit more into the mainstream with the article that HFS had released a couple of years earlier. But I was part of the exec team there and saw this incredible journey, of which obviously you were part of that as well, Wayne, where RPA kind of just was this sort of phenomenon, and it was really saw massive hypergrowth. Saw Blue Prism go through an IPO and into becoming a public company. And then in 2020, I joined XpertRule. I think, the reasons for doing that, I mean, I've been fascinated by the intelligent automation space. It's just such an exciting place to be. But I realized that RPA had really reached a plateau, and I could see that the future was as we sort of start to drive into the more complex, more high value processes. And that was really around this whole area of decision automation.
Now, I'm intrigued now about decision automation. I'm sure the audience is as well. So let's dig into that. Now, why is it important to what is it? What type of decisions are we thinking about, and why is it important to the enterprise?
Yeah, okay. So I think just before we sort of talk about the type of decisions, I think it's worth just looking at the problem that we're solving and look at the problem that was being faced by a lot of enterprise organizations and beyond as they go through their automation journeys. And what we observed, and I think what we've found, that when we talk to customers and various different organizations around the ecosystem, they would tend to agree with us that the three challenges are that automation and intelligent automation, as it's gone into businesses, is still very tactical in nature. It's not end to end. It's looking at the low hanging fruit. It's not really at scale either, particularly when you start to pull together when you try to integrate different intelligent automation technologies. It's hard to do that, and it's not very cost effective. And so it's as a consequence, it's not very scalable. But also, when we look at the automations that are being delivered, in general, they're still tackling the simple stuff. They've not really progressed into the more complex process areas. And so we observe this kind of tactical general approach to automation that focuses on just the things that are suitable, more repeatable. And as a result, it tends to be quite fragmented. If you want to look strategically at automation, then you need to look firstly at the end-to-end process, and you also need to do an element of process transformation. And I just remember from all of those years back at Blue Prism, there was this continuous debate around, do we automate and then transform, or transform and then automate. And it was always really challenging. But I think that for me, the light bulb, and coming back to your question around why decisions are so important, is that actually the end-to-end process is always driven by a business outcome. And a business outcome is in turn always driven by a decision or a series of decisions. And to inform those decisions, you need to take data from various places. And then once you've made those decisions, you need to push that data, that resolution out somewhere. But actually at the heart of driving a business outcome, and therefore the key to unlocking that process transformation, is how you can automate the business decisions. And I think hopefully that kind of brings it to life, why that's such a critical part of the process. If you can manage to automate the decisions, then suddenly you've got the key that unlocks the door to automating the end-to-end process, rather than just the parts of the process that are maybe more transactional. But to do that requires a really big barrier to be overcome, because actually a lot of decisions that are made through interactions with other people, whether that's over the phone or whether that's using chat or information being passed back and forth through any channel effectively. So you've got to be able to tackle that, and that's something that we're able to do at XpertRule.
I think that gives us a good background of why this type of technology is important, and maybe a few snippets of maybe there's some of the types of problems that we might want to think about when we're thinking of XpertRule. But where have you had some real success, I guess, so far? And what are the types of, departments, the types of processes? Where are the hotspots for where these type of decisions lay in a business?
Yeah, great question. All right, well, I think I would sort of split those into two categories. The first category is where you've got what we could refer to as the human in the loop, right? And these are typically the processes that are being done by your sort of specialist, expert, or referral teams. So it's things like compliance checking, fraud analysis, risk assessments. KYC is a great one. Claims on the insurance space. Insurance and insurance just generally is a really good area for us, because there's lots of decision making that goes on, and a lot of that decision making can be rules based, but it's also based on judgment and experience of people. And this is where actually I'll come on to the benefits in a minute, but just kind of continuing on this theme, the other element is in the front office, right, where typically you haven't maybe had as much penetration with existing automation technologies. So things like sales and servicing, where you're doing maybe retentions or upselling, selling of complex products or servicing of complex products, resolving customer issues, things like negotiating. So, for example, if there's a really good example that's come up recently is customers in financial difficulty. How do you resolve that for a customer? And that requires analysis of a bunch of different inputs, that specific customer's circumstances, and then putting in place a program based on that customer's value and how you can retain that customer, and how you can come up with an outcome that's suitable for both the organization and the end customer. Complaints is another good one. So in terms of industries, for us, it's regulated industries are brilliant. Banking, any financial services. We're seeing a lot of traction in the insurance space. Another one that's great for us is in the retail space. But really, I guess a little bit like with the RPA technologies, it's very much a general purpose software solution, and you can apply it into any area where you've got complexity, you've got multiple products, and you've got typically people that are in the front line, or people performing decision-based, rules-based logic. And I would say a great sort of principle to work off is if you want to try and capture and automate your core competencies, your core capabilities in a way that is very flexible, and your business can manage it. You're not subject to the constraints of an IT change cycle, and also where you've got different knowledge sets sat across the business, but actually what you want to do is provide a single consistent customer journey. So from the customer's perspective, they're just progressing along a route, but actually you might be combining different knowledge sets from different individuals or different areas of the business together. So what would have previously have been a very clunky customer journey being handed from one team to another, you can now handle in one single seamless interaction. And I think the other thing that is really key here is what we don't do is we don't need to rip and replace technologies that you've already implemented. So we can augment and leverage things like RPA or other technologies around the intelligent automation space and just make it more powerful. A great example of that is really with chat bots and chat technologies. Most businesses have invested in a chat technology, and that chat technology has the ability to handle some fairly simple interactions, almost a high volume, low value interactions that really reduce the overhead on the operational overhead. But what we can then do is we can power that chat with really deep knowledge. So suddenly you can arm your self-serve chat front end with the ability to interact with customers and provide really complex interactions that would ordinarily have had to go back to a person. But that's the beauty of it, right? Because you can do that, but at the same time, you can arm that front office agent with exactly the same knowledge and exactly the same expertise from across the breadth of your business. So it gives you a really powerful multi-channel solution.
What we should take away is that these decisions are everywhere, and that although we are thinking about end-to-end automation, really you are the glue that is maybe linking some of these different technologies together, where historically we may have thought human in the loop is the only way to do that, whereas XpertRule is saying, putting your hand up and saying, well, actually, no, there is a different way. And it's not to say, I guess, that human in the loop goes away completely, but maybe there is another way. Now, talk to me about the technology at a very high level. When we talk about automated decisions, I immediately start to think of machine learning. Are you a machine learning, an AI tool? Is it something different? Is there kind of some kind of 10, 20 second kind of overview of what's under the hood, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. And we are absolutely, I would say we are an AI technology, but AI is so much more than machine learning. We have machine learning baked into the product. To give it a really to put it in really simple terms, there's a triumvirate of technologies that we bring together. So the first one is this decision automation technologies, and that is very much about capturing knowledge and expertise from people, but also from data. So using a variety of different, what we would call AI engineering techniques. But then working alongside that is the workflow element, because you can't decouple decision making from workflow. One drives the other, right? And they're both kind of interdependent. And then the third element that we bring together, that again, and if you think about it, this is what people do when we're performing activities. We also interact and we have conversations. So we're making decisions as we're having a conversation. We're gathering information, we're responding, we're kind of dynamically making decisions all the time, and then we're reprioritizing the work that we do. So what we've done as a platform is we brought those three components together, which is not something that I think anybody else has really done, although it's definitely the direction that the market is trending towards. So they're the three components that's underpinned by what we would refer to as explainable AI. So AI that is, the ability to dynamically generate decision logic from data, but also to have visibility and transparency over every decision that's being made. And as I mentioned before, it's using these decision engineering techniques. And this is effectively an AI problem-solving technique that can handle the different types of problems that we work on as people in the course of our daily lives. And that's all kind of wrapped within this low-code, no-code platform. So it's really about enabling the business to own and manage their own decisions keeping that core capability within the business, but doing it within a really enterprise strength governed platform.
Excellent. Okay, no, I think that really helps. I know there's been lots of discussion recently that I've seen on LinkedIn, and everyone's talking about outcomes. What are the type of outcomes that we should expect? And people are talking about this from just a general automation perspective, but thinking about XpertRule and decisions, automated decisions. What are the type of outcomes that we should be expecting, or the users should be expecting to see?
Yeah, this is what I love about this product. And this is why it's so exciting, right? Because the outcomes are on three levels. We literally can address both the cost agenda, top line growth agenda, and also improving the customer experience. And it's so holistic from that perspective. So if we sort of start with the cost agenda, like many of the other technology and automation products on the market, we drive operational efficiency, right? So one of the main ways we do that is we can deliver channel migration. So you can migrate from a voice channel into a self-serve channel, very simplistic terms. But because we are multi-channel, we can also empower those contact center agents or those frontline agents with greater skills. So we drive multi-skilling as well, which also brings a benefit. It brings an efficiency benefit, and it also brings the softer side of this, which kind of, I don't know quite where it fits, but is around morale and engagement of people. It probably relates to a productivity benefit, actually. But also connected there is, the reduction in AHT, the first contact resolution, that you can also drive improvements there because you're arming those agents, those staff, with the best knowledge that exists around your business. So that's the operational efficiency side, right? If we look at the customer experience, I think I alluded to this already, but you can blend within one single customer journey knowledge sets from different people. So you could take a problem solving, it could be a call into the contact center, right, to resolve an issue with a product or a service. You can solve that, you can troubleshoot that issue, problem solve it, but then you can step seamlessly into an upselling or a retention conversation. And you've got the ability, because we can leverage data that we hold about people as well, we can really dynamically and instantaneously create a very personalized offer for that individual customer based on their preferences on products and services, based on their customer lifetime value, based on their propensity to churn. And we can compute all of that instantly and put a personalized offer in the hands of the agent, or even through chat, for that to be communicated back to the customer. And that drives into the top line benefits, right? Because as a result, we can start to drive, greater sort of share of wallet for a particular customer in that particular example, right? But just bringing a couple of real examples from existing customers. So for one customer in the life sciences area, through automation, we were able to increase the productivity of their core capability is delivering lab reports. And we automated that process using their knowledge. So rather than it having to be handled manually by a lab scientist, we're now automating from the collection of the results to the production of the report. And we were able to increase productivity by 3 times. So, just absolutely transformed their business and enabled them to take on more business and scale the business without having to increase significantly headcount. And similarly, at another customer, this is a customer that operates in the manufacturing space, and we were part of their sales cycle. Their sales process is really complex products in the industrial refrigeration industry. And this is effectively selling the fit outs of supermarkets, right? One of the market leaders in that space. But we were able to automate and capture the configuration and the quote process for that sales process. So putting it into the hands of frontline salespeople, rather than it having to be passed from the frontline salesperson into a specialist product consultant who would do all the design and pass it back to the salesperson to provide the quote. So it's very iterative, Whereas now that salesperson can go straight into the customer, they can have the conversation, capture all the information, dynamically generate and create a really complex solution and provide the quote, and then automatically provide the bill of materials through to the ERP platform to be executed and produced. So it's absolutely seamless, and that really enabled them to open up their partner channel in the same way, because they could suddenly offer the same level of service and quality through their partner distribution channel as they could through their own sales team, and that dramatically improved the quality of the sales process and the quality of the build as well. So it was all the way through, but it improved their sales cycle by it basically halved their sales cycle by 100%. So it enabled them to really drive growth of their business. I'm not saying it was the only reason for them scaling their business. This is a business that, again, had grown over the period that we had implemented with them threefold. So, it's not to take credit for everything that they've done, but to say that, we had played a significant role in contributing to that success.
I think what we can take from that is outcomes are something that you're very focused on, and to date you have seen some very positive ones being delivered with clients of the tool. So I think that's probably all we have time for today. Alex, it's been great to have you on the show. So thank you very much for your time today.
No, great. Thanks for having me on the show.
And thank you for the audience for listening.